going to die in 5 minutes, Kai. Well then, Dyson, I'll just be dead. Still have a chance. All you need to do is tell me what I need to know. I'm not handing the gym over to the corporation. I've learned from my mistakes and will continue whether or not you reveal the location of the gym. You can't stop it. You just have the power to prevent your own death. If the gym wasn't so important to the plan, I wouldn't be here right now. And I'm not gonna tell you. I'm sorry. You know, I knew you were stolen when I first met you. What? Earlier today? Yeah, I could see it in your eyes. When I first sat down and looked you in the eye, I knew this wasn't going to be easy. I'm glad my resolve could serve as bookends for our chat. What have I got? 4 minutes? 3, huh? You know, I felt a similar feeling to the one you're describing when we first met. Oh, really? Yeah. One look at you, and I knew this was going to be a walk in the park. Hello. My name is Dyson. And you're Kai, right? Right? I'm going to be recording our conversation, if you don't mind. Now, by now you're probably wondering who I am and what you're doing here. I hope I can clear up any confusion. I think I have an idea why I'm here. The corporation's interest. I just have a couple of questions I want to ask. And then you'll ask me where the gym is. We'll get to that momentarily. Although its location is of primary interest to the corporation, they also want me to collect data regarding the person who stole it, namely you. They want me to feel you out, uncover your motivations. I've done a little research myself, but I still have questions. First, I want to know, what made you decide to become a doctor? When I was a teenager, my father died from an easily preventable illness. So your father's death inspired you? No, the doctor who treated him was known as the ladies' man. In fact, my mother was the only woman, single or married, that resisted his charms. She was faithful to my father. But when my father died, she gave in just like all the others. When I saw that, I realized what kind of effect a title or measure of prestige can have on the opposite sex. I wanted to have that same effect on women. I picked the wrong field. There's not as many groupies when you're a scientist. I think it's the nerd stereotype. Women think of a skinny guy with horn-rimmed glasses and a lab coat, and it immediately turns them off. Just described one of my co-workers to a T. I guess there is truth in some stereotypes. I mean, all women wanting a man with a title is a stereotype in and of itself. Nearly all the stereotypes about women are true. They are simple-minded creatures, naive, with a childish view of how the world works. All the women I've interacted with are like that. Even the ones who have the veneer of intellect show how shallow they are after extended conversation. Huh. That's funny. How so? Your confidant and partner in crime is a woman. Sad. You seem to have a great deal of trust in her. You know what I think? I think you're projecting an image. You're pretending to be sexist to skew the results of my data collection. I don't think you believe a word of what you said. Ah, well, you got me. It wasn't that good of a facade. Your words were actually reciting what you think a misogynist would say. A stereotype, if you will. The real ones are more subtle, more inclined to attack the concept of feminism than to lambast women themselves. At least around casual acquaintances. Well, really, a stereotypical misogynist and a subtle misogynist are both two sides of the same idiotic coin. True. And yes, Saria is a close friend who I trust with my life. And did she trust you with her life? I believe she did. I hope that trust won't turn out to be misplaced. It won't be. Because you know what the corporation will do if they find her. They won't. I don't know. But Dias is pretty bent on finding her. Especially since she killed his son. You know, Nissus was unarmed and running away when she did it. What can I say? She has a temper. And you're fine with being an accomplice to murder. You work for the corporation, so you really can't take the moral high ground. I beg to differ. Any lives taken by the corporation have been in pursuit of the greater good. They don't kill innocent people just because. You're calling Nissus innocent? Well, the guy was a predator. Who knows how many children she saved by disposing of that pervert? Those were rumors, unfounded. For you, maybe. But Terry and I both knew. I said the death of Matthias' son was for the greater good. Even so, the unfounded rumors never suggest Mrs. killed anyone. From what we know, there was only one confirmed, and not only was it consensual, but she lied about her age. From what you know. But there were others, and they were younger. And he did kill them after he had his way with them. Believe me, I know. Matthias doesn't believe his son did any of it. He believes you killed Nissus to hurt him. Yes, well, beliefs and facts are rarely synonymous. But beliefs are powerful, wouldn't you say? People have died over beliefs, whether theirs or others. And really, if enough people believe, then the belief can prove to be stronger than the facts themselves. You are familiar with confirmation bias? Yes. How we tend to distort what we encounter in real life to match our preconceived view of the world. Everybody does it from time to time. And with so much distortion, how can one get a clear picture of anything? I think the corporation would disagree with you. They think in a rather simple, black and white, right and wrong way. From your perspective, But the corporation is adaptable. They recognize relativity, and they have contingencies for it. They're always trying to fill the gaps in their knowledge, hence my conversation with you. And, to be fair, it's your black and white, right and wrong way of thinking that put us here in this position. You think so? Absolutely. I think genocide is wrong when viewed even from the most jaded of perspectives. Calling the corporation's plan genocide is the most jaded of perspectives, and rather unfair. Really? What do you call it? Necessary. It's not like this was the desired outcome. But the corporation is more than willing to adapt, isn't it? Even if it means the death of hundreds of innocents. That's the worst case scenario. Steadily growing more and more probable. You really can't take the moral high ground on this either. After all, you're partially responsible for the quandary we face. When I did what I did, I wasn't told the full story. I acted out of ignorance is bliss, and you did put us onto the path to destruction with a carefree smile. Ignorance is also no excuse. I did what anyone would do under the circumstances. So if you want to blame someone, blame Matthias. I could never have done what I did if he hadn't set the wheels in Matthias's planet worked. He would have saved the world with minimal casualties, if any. It was meddlers, you among them, that undermined his efforts. I thought the corporation had contingencies for this sort of thing. They do. It's the plan they have now. The one you label genocide. I don't think the corporation should be able to decide who lives and who dies. Who dies is not in the hands of the corporation. Only who lives. Besides, you've made value judgments on human lives many times. What makes you think you should be able to decide? What about your former friend, Lyson? He was innocent. What made you think you could decide for him? He was innocent, but he was a liability. You betrayed him, sent a friend who trusted you to his death. Yes, I have many regrets, but I can't change the past. And you show an unwillingness to change the future. Giving the gem to the corporation won't make things better. I want to see for myself. So you're one of those types. You don't just listen when you're told the stove's hot. You have to touch it. I try to avoid being gullible. Lots of propaganda floating around, you know. I know. You work for one of the biggest distributors. But not all propaganda is bad. Sometimes it can influence public opinion for the good, if it extols the virtues of law-abiding citizens and discourages deceit and malice. That's the most harmful type of propaganda. Why should we abide by a corrupt law? That's not virtuous at all. And why is deceit automatically bad? It can be a useful tool, especially when dealing with those who are deceitful themselves. And as far as malice, well, hate can be a powerful motivator. The more you want your enemy dead, the more likely you are to succeed in accomplishing the goal. Now, this so-called good propaganda is there to neuter us, pacify us, rob us of the passion that affects change. maintain the status quo. But really, shouldn't those who are both corrupt and powerful be overthrown? Shouldn't we keep the truth from those who would use it to destroy us? Shouldn't our natural response to evil be disgust and hatred? Otherwise, how would we be able to vanquish it? Do you think we should relish killing those whom you deem evil? Who's more likely to survive in battle? The man who is reluctant and downcast at the prospect of ending a life? Or the man who is eager to kill without hesitation? So sadism is the key to winning wars. It can certainly tip the scales. Celia enjoyed killing Nissus. She relished ending the life of a degenerate who preyed on children. There's something rather gratifying about those who victimize others becoming victims themselves. It's poetic justice. That's why there are plenty of malcontents who feel victimized by society in general and fantasize about revenge. There's a thin line between crusader for justice and deranged killer. I'm sure the corporation thinks so. Really though, these malcontents you speak of are children throwing a temper tantrum. Impotent, powerless. And so out of frustration, they lash out at the wrong targets. It's just misdirected anger and a way to reclaim power by hurting others. It's really a side effect of the propaganda that makes them feel unable to attack the real cause of their misfortune. Are you familiar with the phrase, crabs in a bucket? Vaguely. Crabs are gathered in a bucket that they could easily escape, but their competitive nature causes them to drag each other down, bringing progress to a standstill and ensuring that none of them will escape their fate. If we're kept at each other's throats, if we're divided in purpose, then we'll never break free of who's ever exploiting us both. We'll never defeat the real enemy. We'll only keep destroying ourselves. But isn't that universal? Our competitiveness, our constant struggle to be number one. Is it really the plan of some evil, manipulative mastermind? Or is it just the inevitable result of human nature? Those who are good at manipulating others also know how to exploit human nature. Or what's worse, aiming your blows at the opponent in the ring with you or swinging at the air. That's the type of rhetoric that drains passion, breeds depression and apathy. The idea that fighting is pointless, and the illusion that the obstacles are insurmountable. Or the illusion of the obstacles themselves. Don't piss on my head and call it rain. I'm not blind. Paranoia can be blinding. It can blur the line between fantasy and reality. You can tell a paranoid schizophrenic that no one is plotting against them, but all that does is make them think you're a part of the plot. Gaslighting, appeal to ridicule, both rather effective tactics. Indoctrinate people with the idea that the truth is crazy or laughable, and you'll have them embracing lies as logical conclusions. Should a schizophrenic trust his own mind above all else? I'm not going to speak for schizophrenics. I do know that in an insane society, sanity is viewed as madness, and vice versa. A sane society would be seen as insane through the eyes of madness. How can you tell when it's one scenario and not the other? Humans have become so adept at lying to themselves that they don't know what's real anymore. Self-deception really is the worst sort of deceit. You become your own worst enemy. So you're asking what I would choose between delusion and doubt? That's one way to put it. I always doubt. Other people, claims, motives, etc. Doubt is necessary to discern the truth. But I don't doubt who I am or the function of my mind. Quite frankly, everything that shapes our perspective of life rests right between our ears. So when that goes, we're not really even alive anymore, even if our legs still move or our heart still beats. If I'm losing my mind, then I'm dead already. Doubting my reality won't bring me back to life. All such doubt would do is cause stagnation, which is also a kind of death. And that would be all the more tragic if I am indeed as sane as I think I am. If one has the capability to succeed and fall short, it's a far more crushing blow than if you never had a chance to begin with. I don't think doubt has to paralyze a person. I think it can open up new paths that lead to more fulfilling destinations. Any path you take requires confidence. And there's only one destination, and it's the same for all paths. Some paths are just paved better, or have better sights along the way. If a path starts out easy, it usually gets much harder later on. If a path is hard to begin with, the journey often ends up much more rewarding. The sad part is that it's easier to doubt the path that's difficult at the outset. So sometimes we let our fears, our doubts, and our lack of confidence cause us to choose the seductive path that satisfies us temporarily, but inevitably leads to failure and pain. And so here we are on opposite paths. That begs the question, which one of us is on the path to success, and which one is on the path to failure? Time will tell. You are more right than you know. Tell me more about your colleagues. You betrayed Lyson, of course, but what about the others? Did they have a clue about what was at stake, what the project entailed? None of us really knew what was at stake, but I imagine whatever they knew about it, they all had humanitarian motivation. You don't strike me as the type to be so optimistic about the motivations of others. Isn't it possible that some took part in the project for glory or prestige out of selfish ambition? I don't believe a desire for glory or personal ambition and working for the greater good are mutually exclusive. If a desire for power or prestige drives man to accomplish something beneficial for humanity, then, no pun intended, more power to them. If you save the world, you deserve to be treated like a hero. Is that why you took part in the project? For glory? That's why Matthias did. I'm sure he'd disagree. Full humility endears you to others. It can be an effective strategy to attain more power. Matthias claims he doesn't want to be idolized, and that only makes people even more enamored with his deferential grace. So genuine humility and great accomplishment are mutually exclusive? We all want to be the best at what we do. If we didn't think it was possible, we wouldn't try. Humility strikes me as more of an inherent belief in your own inferiority, so it's counterproductive to success. I prefer modesty, an awareness of your limitations, and along with it, an awareness of how to take advantage of opportunities to free yourself from said limitations. But what about things that are impossible for humans to accomplish? Humility is acknowledging there are some things we can't change. If we jump off a building, our confidence in self doesn't change the law of gravity. Ask the Wright brothers about the law of gravity. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. Didn't you say beliefs and facts are rarely synonymous? Faith without works is dead. Quoting scripture, the book of James, chapter 2. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. I'm familiar. You know, the book of James also says, God opposes the proud, but gives favor to the humble. 4th chapter. I tend to adhere to the time-honored tradition of cherry-picking Bible verses that are in line with my opinions. After all, I do eat show. I would cite the 10th chapter of Acts, but we spent enough time on this already. After all, this isn't a religious debate. It isn't? Aren't you an acolyte of the corporation? One of Matthias's apostles? Which I suppose would make me an apostate, the Antichrist. You guys really need to get over your Messiah complex. Starting to feel like this whole exchange is rather pot and kettle. It certainly has been. Hence the corporation calling me the Antichrist. I didn't call you that. I just mentioned the possibility. You still have a chance at redemption. You mean handing over the gem? It would be the first step to absolution. You say absolution, I say damnation. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I'll see you there. Speaking of good intentions, you said you believe your colleagues were well-intentioned. I did. I've compiled some information on them. What can you tell me about Dr. Terrius? Terrius was friendly enough. He drank a little too much. I hear he's a full-blown alcoholic now after everything that's happened. It's a shame. The man lost his job and his wife. Do you feel at all responsible? We all lost a lot. Or to be more accurate, we all had a lot taken from us by the corporation. So you blame the corporation for all that's happened. What about your friend Lyson? Do you blame them for his death? Yes, but I also blame myself. I'm surprised you allow yourself to feel guilt. I figured you'd consider it superfluous. In most cases, it is. Regret is only as good as what it moves you to do. If I were to stew in my guilt, sitting idly depressed as it robs me of hope and happiness, I'd be better off unrepentant. But my regrets, along with a myriad of other reasons and feelings, are why I do what I do. Too bad Dr. Terrius couldn't say that. Some men solve their problems by thinking, others by drinking. I find a combination of the two works best, and both in moderation. Think responsibly. Precisely. How about Dr. Ferris? What can you tell me about him? Ferris was quiet, kept to himself, didn't really stand out among his peers. He seems like a decent enough fellow. And of course, the late Dr. Lyson. What about him? The corporation already knows the whole story. They harvested him, didn't they? You volunteered him. I see no reason why someone would knowingly send a friend to such a fate. Were you really ever friends at all? Yes, I considered him a friend. He was brave, smart, always wanting to help others. And that's why he had to die. He couldn't stop trying to help, even when he was doing more harm than good. 3 of his patients died, one of them just a child, and he still could not acknowledge the facts. You're referring to the fact that he was a carrier. He couldn't comprehend being symptom-free and still being a carrier. He didn't believe me when I told him he was a danger to others, just like all the other AB positives. So I made a choice. At the time, I thought it was for the best, that his death was a necessary evil. I didn't know his death was just the first of many more sacrifices, many more necessary evils. I would have acted differently had I known. What would you do different? I would have taken the gem at the earliest opportunity, nipped all of the playing God in the bud. You know, Matthias considered you to be the most gifted doctor on the project. That's likely why he's so bent on stopping me. He feels threatened by my accomplishments and my potential. If you felt that way, why not conceal your talents to avoid being seen as a threat? Wouldn't that be more strategic, especially when dealing with someone as powerful as Matthias? Why should I act inferior to make him feel better? Why should I be dishonest and downplay my abilities to compensate for his insecurities? You said the exact opposite earlier. Oh, really? Yes. You said, shouldn't we keep the truth from those who would use it to destroy us? Funny. I'm enjoying our conversation quite a bit, you know. How about you? I must admit, it has exceeded my expectations. Good. And as far as Matthias destroying me, I'm not dead yet. Yet being the operative word. As long as I alone know the location of the gem, I doubt I'll have to worry. That's where you're wrong. You see, the reason I'm here is not just to figure out the location of the gem or analyze you. I'm also here to pass judgment. That is sanctimonious, wouldn't you say? I feel comfortable putting myself on a pedestal when compared to a mass murder. And yet, once again, the kettle is a tap for its shade. I never directly killed anyone. Maybe not directly. But Matthias thinks you're behind the scourge. Shifting the blame for the outcome of a project that was his idea. He's more concerned about how a medicine that was supposed to save the world ended up almost destroying it. He would know more than anyone. He disagrees. Of course he would. It's a classic scenario. A man is granted power beyond his wildest dreams and cannot handle it. He ends up abusing that power in order to gain more, purposefully infecting the populace with a deadly virus, and then manufacturing the cure, playing both sides, washing the blood off his hands before he shakes yours. That way he can be both the destroyer and the savior, the hero and the villain. That's an interesting theory. How about this one? You were the one who sabotaged the project. You tainted the medicine. You killed all those people, and then you stole the one thing that could save them. Well done. Your deductive skills are enviable. But Do you have any proof? We're building a case, but the penalty will be lighter if you choose to confess. I'm not going to confess to something I didn't do. So you're claiming innocence? I think you know I'm innocent. On the contrary, all I am sure of is that Matthias is not the perpetrator. There is proof exonerating him. The only one talented enough, the only one close enough to the project, the only one who has consistently sabotaged the efforts of the corporation is you. So I'm to be the scapegoat then. And when the corporation's plan, killing off all the AB positives, comes to fruition, am I to be blamed for yet another mass murder? They don't intend to kill them all if they can help it. And in a way, you are to blame. If you hadn't infected those people with that deadly virus, we would never have to resort to such drastic measures. So any blood shed is on your hands. Saying I infected them doesn't make it any more true, no matter how many times you say it. Guilty people always proclaim their innocence. Yeah, but so do innocent people. Not always. When I was in grade school, I was accused of breaking a pencil sharpener. I knew I was innocent, but the teacher was so convinced that I realized there was no point in arguing my case. So I confessed to something I didn't do, took the punishment, and then I began working to uncover the true culprit. And did you? Yes. It was one of the last people I expected. One of my classmates, a little girl. Quiet, kept to herself. Didn't really stand out among her peers. She seemed like a decent enough kid. Anyway, I gathered proof that she had done it, and I was innocent. When asked by the school principal why I said I did it at first, I claimed I was intimidated by the teacher into giving a false confession under pressure. Of course, that wasn't really why. The truth was, I confessed to throw them off, to obfuscate the situation, to put the truly guilty party at ease, to see the teacher admonished for bullying one of her students, thoroughly chastened as I had pretended to be. I did it to validate myself, to make my exoneration and my revenge that much sweeter. To feel your persecution complex? You should be able to relate to that. But no, after that incident, I was never accused of wrongdoing again. I had the entire school staff walking on eggshells. It wasn't a persecution complex. I perceived that I had been targeted, and so I took action to make sure that it wouldn't happen again. So you're saying I should say that I infected all those people just to make you look stupid when you realize I didn't? The situations are different. I was actually innocent. I think your teacher had it right from the beginning. You probably did break the pencil sharpener and set up some poor kid to take the fall, just like the corporation is trying to do with me. If you really are innocent, I advise you to prove it. Tell us where the gym is. How would that prove my innocence? By giving back the gym to the corporation so they can use it to end this. The corporation's use of the gym is what started this in the first place. So you say. But without the tools at our disposal, that gym is useless. I can't think of any reason why you would hide it from us. Unless you wanted the scourge to continue unabated. What possible reason could I have for wanting the scourge to continue?
The same reason you had for causing it in the first place. To punish society. You're one of those malcontents we talked about who feel as though the majority of people are beneath you. I'm sure you've heard of the Darwin Award.
Yes. People who remove themselves from the gene pool due to their own stupidity.
I think it's safe to assume someone as intelligent as you considers a lot of people to be eligible for that reward. You're a social Darwinist. So something as egalitarian as a mass-produced elixir of life would be in direct opposition to your beliefs.
You really ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're making the age-old mistake of correlating intelligence and evil. Just because I'm the smartest guy in the room doesn't mean I want to kill everyone in the vicinity. That sort of anti-intellectualism is highly offensive.
No. I'm well aware of the banality of evil. I'm saying you aren't as smart as you think you are. Especially if you think you're the smartest guy in the room.
Really? Is there a genius hiding under the table?
It's that hubris that will be your downfall. The overconfidence in your own abilities. You can't fathom someone seeing through the smoke and mirrors.
You know the story of the boy who cried wolf?
Shepherd boy cries out to the townspeople about a wolf. The first couple of times they come running, only to discover he was lying. They grow tired of his pranks, and the next time they ignore his cries.
And that just happens to be the time when there's an actual wolf. Depending on the version of this tale, the wolf devours both the sheep and the boy.
A fable against lying. Apparently you didn't learn from it.
No. The lesson is not against lying. It's a lesson on how to lie. See, the boy lied so much about nothing that no one believed him, even when he was telling the truth. But a good liar is trusted because he always mixes in some of the truth with his lies. And he only lies when it really matters. A good liar also knows the value of reverse psychology. If someone suspects you to lie, then, like you expect me to, the most deceitful thing I can do is tell you the truth.
But isn't telling me that an attempt at reverse psychology in and of itself? You're telling me the truth because you know I'll think you're lying, except that by revealing your strategy, you therefore expect me to take your words at face value, which enables you to actually lie to me.
Oh, what a twisted web we weave. No, it's like I said. A good liar mixes truth and lies. You should be able to discern between the two, unless you aren't as smart as you think you are.
I find it amazing that you expect an honest appraisal of your words from me.
Well, even statements made to deceive have a purpose behind them. A person can figure out another's intentions by what they choose to lie about. It's the thought that counts.
So you can read minds now.
With enough experience and knowledge, anyone can. All I have to do is say the right thing and judge how you choose to respond. It doesn't take long to figure out where someone's headed.
You're right. It doesn't.
From the very beginning, I should have known it was too good to be true. Think of all the cons involved with such a drug. Overpopulation, limited resources, your average Joe emboldened to take on the government, commit crime.
Eliminating entropy doesn't mean people still can't be eliminated. You won't die, but you can be killed.
Still, think of the overwhelming confidence immunity to aging, sickness, death, and disability would imbue in a person.
They would definitely be willing to take more risks.
I disagree. Why jeopardize the ability to live forever with foolish decisions? People would try to avoid any sort of danger to maintain the security of perpetual existence. Accidents or homicides would be even more tragic than they are now, and would no doubt be curbed at any cost. People might even start walking places to ensure they're never in a car wreck. It would take a lot more time, but time wouldn't really be an issue, would it?
If so, that's another reason why it's too good to be true. Think of all the profits made in the automobile industry or other forms of modern transportation. Not to mention hospitals, insurance, religion, etc. So many businesses in human society centers around dying or the expectation of it. I doubt those who get rich off that will be willing to give up their profits for the sake of the impoverished.
They would just have to adapt, find new avenues to secure income.
If there was a medicine that could actually do what Matthias promised, I'd come to the conclusion that your average everyday person would never hear about it. I think that those in power or with money would keep it to themselves and watch the rest of the world die around them. They would justify it by saying the world couldn't handle everyone living forever, that such a gift should only be given to those who deserve it, namely themselves. So either Matthias was selling snake oil that was tampered with along the line, or under the guise of a benevolent shepherd, he was leading mankind to the slaughter. Either way, his actions are unconscionable.
Or Matthias was the real deal, and some cynic poisoned the well. I don't understand how you can be so doubtful. You know the gem's power, otherwise you wouldn't have stolen it.
I know the gem's power to destroy. As far as it being some sort of philosopher's stone, the jury's still out.
I've seen it at work. It's real. Using the gem, any element on the periodic table can be synthesized, and base metals can be transmuted into silver, platinum, gold.
Alchemy has long been a discredited pseudoscience.
It's not alchemy. It's chemistry. And the results are greater than any alchemist of the past could have dreamed of.
I don't know. They did have the Black Death. Speaking of which, do you know the story of the Pied Piper?
Familiar with quite a few fictional stories, aren't you?
Fiction has been the crux of our entire conversation. Do you know the story?
It's another children's story, isn't it? There's a town infested with rats. They hire the Pied Piper to exterminate them. He lures the rats away by playing his instruments. The town reneges on the deal after the job is done, and the Pied Piper kidnaps their children as revenge.
Some say the story is about plague, and that the Pied Piper represents death.
So you idolize him?
Huh. No. Do you work for him?
You can try to blame Matthias or the corporation for your crimes, but it won't work. You really don't know how disadvantaged you are, do you?
Enlighten me.
Well, for one, we have Sarah.
What?
After we captured you, she came out of hiding in an attempt to rescue you. We were able to capture her as well.
You're lying.
Am I? You recognize her screams, don't you? If the corporation harms one hair on her head, you'll what? I will kill you. You're not restrained in any way.
We can do this right now if you want to. I have no qualms with that whatsoever. But know that if you do attack me, negotiations are over and Celia will die. So, we can sit down and resume negotiations, or we can demolish this room. The choice is yours. Now, where were we? Ah, yes, Sarah. What have you done to her? Nothing that a couple of years therapy can't fix. She's more stubborn than you are about cooperating. So here's an ultimatum. Tell us where the gym is and Sarah lives. If you don't, do you know the story of Abraham and Isaac? That's survival again, right? Abraham is told by God to sacrifice his only son. Yes, Isaac. And so even though Abraham loves Isaac very much, he builds an altar, ties him down, and prepares to sacrifice him. Because it's the will of God. I really hope you're not implying what I think you are. Sometimes sacrifice is necessary, no matter how painful. You really are something. You're willing to let Sarah die in behalf of some twisted agenda. And you're willing to kill her in behalf of some twisted agenda. Unbelievable. Know this. What I said I would do if you harm her, I meant it. You won't be able to exact revenge because you're going to die first. If the corporation takes me out, I'm taking a few of them with me. Starting with you. When we brought you here, you were unconscious. We could have killed you 100 times over if we wanted. In fact, in a way, you're already dead. You think so? While you were sleeping, I inserted a device into your brain through your ear. It is a tiny explosive, timed to go off in a matter of minutes. If you tell me what I want to know, I can prevent that from happening. Otherwise, you will die here in this room. I should have known better than to threaten you with killing Sarah. You already betrayed one friend. What's one more? A psychopath like you wouldn't care if they lived or died. But self-preservation, that's paramount, isn't it? Tell me where the gym is. The gym? I could tell you where the gym is. But how can I know you won't just let me die? I give you my word. You tell me the location of the gym, I enter the passcode on this phone, and the device will shut down. Trust me. I can never trust you, but I do believe you. So, where is it? I believe you. And that's why I feel that much more determined to make sure the corporation never gets its hands on the gym again. What type of sense does that make? You're going to die. Self-preservation is key, but it's not paramount. I have always done what I can to stay alive. After all, when you're dead, it doesn't matter how intelligent you were, what ideas you had, or the potential you possessed. That's all gone. Your friends, your family, your partner in life, all lost. No memories to cherish, no hopes to anticipate, no consciousness, nothing. So why choose that path? Because people like you and the corporation think that you can control people through the fear of death. What shall a man give in exchange for his soul? I do fear death, but there's something I fear more. I would rather die a meaningful death than live a meaningless life. You will certainly experience death, although I'd argue that it will be just as meaningless as your life. That argument will no doubt be as weak as your others, and as unconvincing. Well then, that's all there is to it. You're going to die in 5 minutes, Kai. Well then, Dyson, I'll just be dead, still have a chance. All you need to do is tell me what I need to know. I'm not handing the gem over to the corporation. I've learned from my mistakes and will continue whether or not you reveal the location of the gem. You can't stop it. You just have the power to prevent your own death. If the gem wasn't so important to the plan, I wouldn't be here right now. And I'm not gonna tell you. I'm sorry. I knew you were stolen when I first met you. What? Earlier today? Yeah. I could see it in your eyes. When I first sat down and looked you in the eye, I knew this wasn't going to be easy. I'm glad my resolve could serve as bookends for our chat. What have I got? 4 minutes? 3? 3, huh? You know, I felt a similar feeling to the one you're describing when we first met. Oh, really? Yeah. One look at you, and I knew this was going to be a walk in the park.
I'm going to stop this recording.
There's something personal I want to share with you in this final part of our conversation. Something I think you should know before you go. I am rather pressed for time, so make it quick. I know you didn't sabotage the project. I know you weren't responsible for the virus and the deaths that resulted. You finally acknowledged that. Why? Because, Kai, I'm the one responsible. I'm the one who sabotaged the project. I poisoned the Fountain of Youth. Matthias has no idea. He trusts me enough to ask me to figure out the identity of the real culprit. Rather ironic, don't you agree? Why? Because you're right. People can't handle living forever. Besides, if Matthias was successful, he would be considered a god. Every god eats a devil. So you killed all those innocent people. I would kill off most of humanity if I could. Killing one person is a rush in itself. Having that power over life and death. Imagine that rush multiplied many times over. Unbelievable. Mind-blowing, isn't it? Figuratively, and any second now, literally. Now we see where our paths have led. You thought you were smarter than me, but I'm happy that you're going to die knowing that you were just another pawn in my chess game.
Does that?
Yes. If you have something to tell me, say it quick. You only have a few seconds.
You're not a god or a devil. You're not a genius or a chess master. All you are is a pathetic psychopath who gets your kicks off ending lives with far more than your own. Mark my words, you will be exposed, and your crimes will not
What a fool. Everything you did, including dying, was for nothing. That's true failure.
As I was saying, you will be exposed, and your crimes will not go unpunished. Eliminating natural causes of death is noteworthy, but coming back from the dead? That is mind-blowing. Figuratively, of course.
How? The
The
explosive.
device you planted in my ear was not a miniature explosive. It was a transmitter. While I was talking to you, I was also getting updates on the investigation's progress.
Investigation? What investigation?
Investigation against you, Dazan. The corporation has suspected you for a while now. They just needed proof. They gave you the transmitter and told you it was an explosive, so I would be able to receive communications during our chat. They made you think I was the target, and it was really you all along.
But Matthias and the gym.
The gym is safe in the hands of the corporation. I never stole it. I can see you're having a hard time grasping this. So let me start from the beginning. Right when we realized that the medicine was making people sick, I met with Matthias. We discerned that somewhere along the line, the medicine had been tampered with. So Matthias asked me to help him uncover the person who was responsible. You were always the one we suspected the most. As we gathered more and more information, everything pointed to you. So, Matthias tricked you into thinking he was sending you to learn about my motivations and the whereabouts of the gym, when he really wanted me to find out more about you. He also wanted to keep you away from home.
Keep me away? Why?
While we were talking,
The corporation searched your office and your home. They kept updating me about what they found through the transmitter. Just a few minutes ago, right when you were taunting me with your confession, they found some evidence buried deep, hidden away where you thought no one would find it. Proof of your guilt. Plus, the transmitter doubles as a recorder. So I have your confession on tape.
But why would Matthias team up with you? You and Sarah killed his son.
This was a stain on his legacy. Matthias knew of his son's heinous crimes and was grateful that we disposed of him. We did him a favor. Guess what you'll ask next? What about the plan to wipe out the AB positives? There was never such a plan. You were misled. Your willingness to go along with it showed how morally deficient you are. No, our sole plan was and is to use the gem to find a cure. And we're close now. Meanwhile, Sarah is safe. Matthias and I know who's responsible. And we're stopping the plague that you started. Do you understand? Everything you've done was for nothing. Now that is true failure.
Well, I guess there's no point in arguing my case.
No point at all.
So, where do we go from here?
Right outside this room that are going to take you into custody. As far as your eventual fate, time will tell. Are you ready?
Does it matter?
No.
Then before we part ways, allow me to congratulate you on a job well done. You're smarter than I gave you credit for. Even with the outcome being what it is, I'm glad we had this chat. And I don't think our paths are really as divergent as we thought. We're not so different, you and I.
Well, I'm a doctor. You're a liar and a murderer. I work to preserve lives. You take pleasure in ending them. I can never be like you.
Beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. For when you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you.
Nietzsche.
That's the one. I'm ready.
After you.
Stars are aligning, the plan is colliding, the plan is arriving. The sheets out there smiling, the fear is upon us. The skies try to warn us, the parents are gone, there's no children tomorrow. Is driving me crazy, this war is my lady, we bombs are tip of her tongue, and dangers at the tip of her fingers. Streets are on fire tonight. Death is on the tip of her tongue, and dangers at the tip of her fingers. Streets are on fire tonight. Disease, the virus is spreading in all directions. No safe zone, no cure and no protection. No symptoms to find the signs of an infection. No vaccines, remedies and no corrections. Quarantine your dreams and sell off our connections. Don't let them in, not a friend, not a reflection. Everybody's got it and want you to have it next then. Don't accept them if you wanna stay as an exception. No pill can heal the ill of this sickness. Some are still in doubt of its existence. Some call it forgiveness and some call it the vengeance. Some say it's an exit and some say it's an entrance. The poor say the rich have the cure. The rich say the poor are the source. Revolutionaries say a psychological war invented by the press just to have something to report. Some say the first case came from a maternity ward. Some say a morgue. Some say the skies. Some say the floors. Whores say the nuns. Nuns say the whores. And everybody is sure. The scientists say it only infects the mind. The little boy said it only infects the girls. The preacher man said it's gonna kill off the soul. A bum said it's gonna kill the whole wide world. Death is on the tip of her tongue, and dangers at the tip of her fingers. Streets are on fire tonight. Death is on the tip of her tongue, and dangers at the tip of her fingers. Streets are on fire tonight. Believe, so say the neon signs by the loudspeakers repeating that everything is fine. A subtle silence to demolish the troubled conscience of a populace with no knowledge and every freedom denied. Every dream is designed and broadcasted from the masses to the masses, from the antennas on top of the shrines. Was fine to receive and implanted during the panic and shorty. It reports back everything in your mind. Everything is lying, everything is dying, everything is a rule, everything is a crime. Everything was here, then everything rewind. The new weather burn the feathers off everything flying. She loves it. The sadness, the madness, the bad shit, the lavish, the fastness, the clashes, the ashes, everything intertwined. My femme fatale, my darling fraudulent angel. Once caught her changing the batteries in a halo. Receipt for wings and everything that she paid for. And the address to the factory where they made those. The scientist said she's all inside my mind. The little boy said what happened to all the girls. The preacher man said she's gonna kill off her soul. The dope boy said it's the whole wide world. Death is on the tip of her tongue, and dangers at the tip of her fingers. Streets are on fire tonight. Death is on the tip of her tongue, and dangers at the tip of her fingers. Streets are on fire tonight.